Hello everyone, welcome to Project Veritas headquarters in front of the infamous Wall of Shame, where journalists' reputations go to die, where journalists have to print retractions and corrections in articles questioning our journalism ethics, hence the irony, hence the absurdity. That's why we call it the Wall of Shame. This is retraction number 317. It goes to the New York Daily News. The 2 million circulation print periodical in New York City and Long Island, the New York Daily News, in an article about the lawsuit against the FBI. Righty sues FBI over ban on gun buy. Righty. Interesting, they know which shooting hand I use. Righty sues FBI over gun ban. This was in a lawsuit that we did against the FBI that we filed in federal court last week. Southern District of New York, plaintiff James Edward O'Keefe has never been convicted of a felony or any other crime punishable by more than a year in prison. So the first sentence of our lawsuit against the FBI states that I'm not a convicted felon. I've never been a convicted felon, but the FBI has put me on a convicted felons NICS list. This is unjust. This is unconstitutional. It's un-American. And the only way to change it, apparently, is to sue the FBI. Now, maybe the FBI erroneously put me on this list. I doubt the FBI ever does anything in error. In any event, the only way to change it is to sue. So sue we did. We filed the lawsuit, and this guy, his name is Stephen Rex Brown, a reporter for the Daily News, writes an article but selectively edits out of the article that I'm not a convicted felon. Check this out. Quote, further inquiry found that the FBI identifies O'Keefe, 36, as a convicted felon, meaning he doesn't have the right to own a gun, according to the suit. But O'Keefe's suit claims the law only bans felons who have been convicted of a crime punishable by more than a year of imprisonment. That's what the reporter stated. Now you read that and you think, because you're not familiar with our background or what happened in that extraordinary case, that indeed I am a felon. So Rex writes this entire article with that carefully worded language that omits the fact that I am not a convicted felon. In a lawsuit, the whole article is about the lawsuit, which states repeatedly that I'm not a felon. Page 3, Mr. O'Keefe has never been convicted by any court anywhere of any crime punishable by more than a year in prison. Repeatedly talks about this idea that in this instance the FBI has maintained the NICS with erroneous information, namely that O'Keefe has been convicted of a crime punishable by more than a year of incarceration, constantly talking about the fact that I'm not a convicted felon or convicted of any such serious crime. So, we call the Daily News and request a update, correction, and indeed we get an update, correction. But get this, here's what this guy does. He goes from this original sentence, Mr. O'Keefe's suit claims the law only bans felons who have been convicted of a crime, and he updates it to, Mr. O'Keefe's suit claims the law only bans people who have been convicted of a crime. He still doesn't include in this article that I'm not a convicted felon. He does not mention in this article, and I'm going to put the article up on the screen here, and you can see this article. You can pause this video and read it. And we put this on Instagram, Eric, and 1,000 comments, and all the people saying the article reads like he's a felon. So the journalists were able to write an article about a lawsuit against the FBI, erroneously or intentionally, putting me on a felons list without actually reporting the fact that I've never been convicted of a felony. Why does this matter? Well, in a world where journalists behave this way every day, reporting on everything, you could possibly hypothesize that's why we're in the problems we're in our society. Because if they can do it to me on this, they do it to everything except no one calls them out. So we do get a correction from Mr. Stephen Rex Brown, but it's a really crappy sort of update. It's really backhanded, and it still implies that I'm a felon. Now, the people that really hate us are going to think the following thing, and maybe some of you too, because you're not familiar with the background in this case. You might think, well, James O'Keefe was charged with a felony initially. Maybe he pled down to a Class B misdemeanor, petty offense, but he pled down. So really he did something. His actions were felonious, right? Right, Eric? he did some felony, but he just wasn't convicted of it. So maybe the FBI is justified in some particular moral circumstance to put him on this list. Well, not only would you be wrong, you would be profoundly wrong. Let's revisit the factual basis in that Class B misdemeanor factual basis document from 2010, over 10 years ago. This is signed by a United States attorney admitting that there never was a felony or any facts that would demonstrate that. And I'm going to put up on the screen while I read it. Quote, "In this case, further investigation did not uncover evidence that defendants intended to commit a felony." Oh, there's that admission that there was no felony. It goes on, and again, this was signed by a United States attorney. It says, quote, "Instead, the government's evidence would show the defendants misrepresented themselves for the purpose of orchestrating conversations." In other words, we were there to just talk to people. Now, this is a devastating admission, and it's a rather unusual one from a United States attorney, prosecutor, saying that there never was a felony, that we stood falsely accused. This is a devastating admission that this reporter from the Daily News edits out. I bet you didn't even know this until now. This is a very material thing. And this is what these people do. And this is how they do it. So, we are giving Mr. Stephen Rex Brown the honor of being retraction number 317. All this could be avoided, all of it, if the journalists just did their jobs, if they just stuck to the facts, if they stopped doing or behaving the way they accuse me of. But as Lenin once famously said, accuse your enemies of doing the things that you yourself do. So I would ask these people to stop projecting onto me the things they do. Project Veritas has not printed a correction or issued any type of major retraction in 9 years. That's a pretty impeccable track record. We've won every lawsuit, some of them defamation lawsuits. We've defeated people in federal court. And if you engage in willful disregard of the truth against Project Veritas, we will sue you and we will win. So congratulations, Stephen Brown. I'm going to go ahead and mail you one of these Retracto plushies because we got them. They came. So we're going to mail you a Retracto plushie. Maybe I'll sign it for you. And my advice to you is do your job. Be fair and stick to the facts. Retracto.